Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am Michael from Hallowed Thrills, back with another video. And you see this beautiful man to my left or my right, whichever I decide to put him on. Connor FL is back
What's up?
for
What's
another East Coasters pod.
Yes,
It has been quite a while since our
It
last one,
has.
hasn't it?
It has. I think we were gonna do this a little earlier, but things happen.
Yeah, I decided to wait for the rest of my trips to finish up, so we at least had a little bit more to talk about, because we were going to talk about our comparisons between our trips to Carowinds, because we both went there, but I had my other 3 parks that I went to, and he had his other ones that he was going to, so we just decided we'll hold off until we got all of our trips in order.
Makes sense. I mean, it's like killing what would be 7 or 8 birds with one stone.
Yeah. But so yeah, we're going to talk about our rankings for each of our trips or each of our new attractions that we got on, and then we're going to be talking about a little bit of coaster news at the very end. So starting off, just to recap, what parks did you end up going to and getting new stuff at this year?
Yeah, so obviously Carowinds, as we discussed a second ago, I went there in April, like the middle of April. It was actually Easter Sunday was the day I was there. So right around that time frame for that. I also went to Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay. Now, I live about an hour and a half from Tampa, but the last time I went to Busch Gardens, the newest coaster was SheiKra. So I did get 4 new credits when I went to Busch Gardens. And then I did make it over to Epcot. I do not have a Disney pass anymore, but one of my friends who works at Disney was gracious enough to comp me in for the day. So I got to experience Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's pretty much it. I got a new credit at SeaWorld because Icebreaker opened. That's about it until the fall.
All right. We'll have to definitely...
We'll have to reconvene
in the fall.
We'll have another park in common.
Because we'll have another park in common, and then hopefully I might get over to SeaWorld
sick.
when I'm down in October to go to Hollow Scream to get Icebreaker as well.
And there you go. All
right. So for me, I'm sure you guys know, I went to Kings Island, Kennywood, Cedar Point, and of course, Carowinds. So I have a lot of coasters that I got. I am now at 151 credits. 151, man.
It's pretty good.
What did you end up at?
So I'm chilling at a crispy 57 for right now.
Hey, you're moving your way up.
We're moving up. It's a process, getting out there, traveling. Numbers definitely going to go up quite a bit after the fall because Magic Mountain's got so many.
Yeah,
just there. 20. 20 credits. Maybe 1 or 2 of them's like a really small kiddie coaster that I can't do. I don't know. Knott's Berry Farm has quite a few. Yeah, Disneyland will up my count a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah, what does Knott's have? Knott's has 7 or 8,
something like that.
8 or 9, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And Universal Hollywood will get me like 2. So.
Oh, Hippogriff and Mummy.
And Mummy. Yep.
I didn't even think about that. I only thought Mummy. I completely forgot.
I always forget about the Hippogriff, but
hey, so that's another 2 to add to my list then. Sweet.
There you go. 2 credits right there. Boom. Easy.
And I'll get Knott's. Hell yeah.
And Knott's. So yeah, the number will be getting, it should be getting pretty close to 100 at the end of the year. There's also like a couple I could go grab at Fun Spot in Kissimmee because I haven't been on Hurricane or was it Galaxy Spin yet? So I could grab those. And then if I don't quite hit 100 this year, I should definitely hit it next year.
You got to make sure you line up a good one for 100.
It's true. Yeah, I did do that for 50.
I mean, my 100 was a Velocicoaster.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
What was your 50?
Intimidator.
Oh, okay.
So that's a pretty decent one.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll be talking about Intimidator soon, but so maybe I'll hit it. Not to spoil anything for like way in the distant future, but maybe I'll hit it with you on El Toro. You never know.
That would be great. I'd love that. That would be El Toro is a perfect 100 coaster.
I know. I need it so bad. I need it in my life.
That's such a good coaster.
So
But,
where should we start with this?
Yeah.
The question.
Did you want me to just start off with one of mine before we head over to
take
Carowinds?
a park and roll with it.
Which one do you want me to do? Kings Island or Cedar Point? I'll go with one of the bigger ones.
Let's go with Cedar Point. Let's go spicy, because I know you're spicy on Cedar Point.
I am spicy on Cedar Point.
Let's just start off with spice.
As many people would know, I didn't have the best experience at Cedar Point. Their maintenance team was not doing great. Everything was closed in the morning, including one of the early operation coasters. Millennium Force was supposed to be open for early rides. Wasn't open. Steel Vengeance was supposed to open at 10. Open an hour and a half later. Yeah, so, and then there was a park-wide power outage.
That's crazy.
It's like an hour.
They just went for your head that day, I think.
And Maverick didn't end up being open. So that is fair warning. Maverick is not going to be on my list. I only got 13 coasters from Cedar Point because Maverick wasn't open, Top Thrill wasn't open, and their other kiddie coaster, Wilderness Run, is only for kids. You can't go on it as an adult without a kid. RIP. But anyway, let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Shall we? So
I'm excited for this.
Number 13. This one, I wrote a lot of these throughout this trip, and although I did enjoy the layout, just the restraint systems on these types of coasters suck for people who have any sort of height or any sort of thick legs. That would be the Cedar Creek Mine Train.
Ooh, all the way at the bottom, huh?
As the lap bar on there, it goes as far as the tallest person on because the lap bars all go down at the same time per section of the car.
Yeah.
Because it did the same on Carolina Gold Rusher.
When I rode Gold Rusher, I was like by myself in the train. There was no one sitting next to me, so I kind of got lucky on that one.
Yeah. So my legs were crushed the entire time. Anyway, moving on from there, we have the only thing that I could have possibly seen putting below that, but I'll put it above it just because I can. The kiddie coaster, Woodstock Express.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a little bit of a different Woodstock Express than the other ones because you either have the renaming and repainting of the Scooby-Doo Ghoster coaster, or you just have like a little normal up and down like normal kiddie coaster. This one was actually really interesting. It was kind of like it almost reminded me of Big Thunder Mountain because it's a big train.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. I mean, for what it is, it's a kiddie coaster. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed that more than I enjoyed the Cedar Creek Mine Train or Mine Ride or whatever the hell it's called. Yeah.
Fair enough.
And now the next one, I wanted to put this higher just because I don't hate it nearly as much as a lot of other people, but this is just where it's going to end up just because of what it is. And that would be Corkscrew. Corkscrew at number 11, just because there's not much to it. It's one loop, 2 corkscrews, and that's it. It is just a very short ride. I didn't have as much pain as a lot of other people say that they do have on it, as far as like head bouncing back and forth. And I think I was in the front for that, so maybe that did help out a little bit. But I don't know, I just didn't have that bad of an experience on that. Not as much as the next one. Coming in at number 10, this is Rougarou. It don't matter if those trains are stand up, sit down, floorless. That is still a headbanging machine, and I do not like it. And I got off of it with a headache.
Ugh.
And it's just you can immediately tell when you're on it that it is a stand-up layout, because you just look and you're like, that loop is massive. That is way bigger than any other like floorless loop should be. The corkscrews are just the layout in general is just no. I just did not enjoy it. It was just too head banging and headache inducing. Now the next one at number 9, I actually really enjoyed this more than a lot of people say they do. They hate on it a lot from what I've been hearing.
Okay.
Iron Dragon. People
Yeah.
are like, oh, the layout's so boring. I'm like, I mean, it's not terrible. It's not like it wouldn't be my first choice. There's one other coaster that I rode similar in my trips this summer that I enjoy more, but it's not bad. I actually really like the helix part that they have over the little lake there. And that's actually really enjoyable. And the fact that it has 2 lift hills is really cool. It has like a little like sound effect as well. Like
Oh,
as
really?
you're going, as you're going down the second hill, it has like a dragon fire breathing
cool.
sound effect. It's pretty interesting. Number 8, Blue Streak. It's just a really nice classic wooden coaster. Nothing too special. Nice out and back layout. It's more of like a family kiddie wooden coaster. Like if I was there, if I had a son or a daughter, and that was their first, and I was going to Cedar Point, I'd have that be their first coaster because it's nothing too over the top, but it's actually still an enjoyable ride. Now this is where my first one that's probably a little bit on the more controversial side. At number 7, I have Magnum XL 200.
Magnum, okay.
At number 7, and
this one is polarizing from what I've seen online and stuff.
I really enjoyed Magnum. The layout itself is really cool. That little like tunnel at the very end where it has like lighting effects in it is also a really nice touch. They didn't need to add it, but they did, and it's actually really, it benefits the ride a little bit and makes it more unique. But those restraints, man. Those lap restraints hurt on every single bunny hill. I was in the back, so maybe that was my fault. I should have like looked into it more as to like what seats are better, but yeah, that it just hurt on everything. Not even on bunny hills. Like there were some turns that it hurt on.
Dang.
I was just like, why? Like
why?
It made Thigh Crush look like a freaking walk in the park.
Really that bad?
If you know what Thigh Crush is.
Yeah.
Also known as Sky Rush. Yeah. It was painful. I'm surprised I didn't have bruises on my thighs after that.
Okay.
Number 6, I debated between 5 and 6 very heavily as to where to put this. But I ended up putting it below the other one. I gave it a little bit of love. Number 6 is Gemini. Gemini was really I don't know. It's just, have you ever went, I said in my video about it, but like those arcade simulators when you were a kid that had like Cedar Point, Blue Streak and Gemini on it that you could like pay and ride it.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was those, but I do remember doing that at like the mall.
Yeah, it was like one of those mall things. Yeah. And I specifically remembered it being Gemini. And whenever I went to the mall and rode that as a kid, I always picked Gemini. So when I went on, I was like, it's full circle, man. And I was so excited.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool moment.
And it was just such a nice ride. I didn't have any issues with it. And it was really enjoyable. And the whole dueling aspect of it, they kept it going back and forth pretty much the entire ride until the very end where the other train just kind of disappeared.
Oh no.
Yeah. I don't know what happened.
I don't know where it went, but
it disappeared. We
crazy.
Finished. We were like pulling in the station. They finally hit the brake run at the end.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but it was interesting. Moving on to number 5, which is the one that I was kind of debating between. I'll end up putting it here. Valraven at number 5. I just didn't really like Valraven. I know a lot of people love it and they revere about it. There's one YouTuber in particular that I know absolutely loves it and talks about it a whole bunch. Who is it though? Is that Airtime Thrills that talks about it?
I know Airtime Thrills was at one point really big on Valraven. I think he said his most recent trip to Cedar Point, it like decreased for him a little bit. But I know he championed that ride for a little bit. I believe that was him.
Yeah, there's just nothing special about it. I've ridden 2 other dive coasters that are far better than it. So if I had gone on it prior to being on those 2, I'd have been like, oh, okay, yeah, this is fun. But after being since being on Sheikah and Griffin before that, I'm just like, no, there's nothing special about this.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next one, number 4. And the reason I think this is so high on my list is because it was the first type of this coaster I've ever been on. That'd be Gatekeeper. I have Gatekeeper at number 4. I love the head chopper effects through those keyholes. The back half could have been faster in my opinion, but it was still and the front half is still very enjoyable, and I love the twisting dive out of the lift hill. That is such a cool element.
Yeah,
because you hit that
and
top
unique to those, like
to those models. Yeah, because you hit that top and you're like, oh, this is just gonna be a normal drop, and then you start twisting and diving under the lift hill, and you're like, oh,
so it's not.
No, it is not. Number 3, Raptor. It's just a really enjoyable B&M invert. It's not too high on my list on B&M inverts. I've been on a lot of B&M inverts, but people say, oh, it's probably one of the best ones I've ever been on. No, Montu's way better.
Montu's the king. The invert.
I still love my Alpengeist, man. That one ride I had on that was so good. Maybe if I got a couple more rides on it, it'd be like, okay, maybe it's not so great, but Alpengeist is still so high up on my list. I love Alpengeist, but Raptor is just, it's a mid B&M invert.
Ooh.
But that isn't going to be the only thing we call mid today.
Probably not.
Moving on, number 2, Millennium Force. It is the first Giga, and it's a good one at that. It's a really long ride, a lot of great elements. I have a great ride photo on that.
Yes, I remember that.
That is, didn't even know the camera was coming.
Pure
that
bliss.
was just pure bliss on that
Pure
coaster.
bliss.
Absolutely loved that ride, and it was just such a good coaster, and just it still probably ranks 3 on my Giga list, but it's such a great coaster, and it reminds me of Steel Force in a way. If Steel Force was 300 feet. It was 300 feet and like twice in length. But and then of course number 1, and my overall number 1.
How could it not be?
Steel Vengeance. Holy shit! Like that is the first coaster I've ever got off of that I was just straight up speechless after. That I just could not come up with words to describe how that experience was. Like I literally just sat there with my phone in my hand, like about to record, and I was like, I can't even begin to figure out how to explain what I just experienced. It's just such an amazing coaster, and I've said it time and time again with the comparisons between it and Iron Gwazi. No, just take those comparisons and leave them at the door. It's nowhere even close. Like my favorite parts probably about it is the fact that it goes within the supports.
And it's really long.
It's really long, but I love the fact that it goes within the wood supports and does a whole bunch of inversions while you're like having those head chopper moments with the actual coaster itself. And when you're riding that at night with those head chopper effects, it seems like they're like there, man. Your head's about to come off as you're going through those corkscrews. It's an experience that it's hard to, like, I went on it on like a virtual POV to try to show my dad after the fact. I'm like, this POV does absolutely no justice to the actual feeling of riding it.
Yeah.
Like you have to literally go there and experience it for yourself to be able to even give it any sort of justice. But that is Cedar Point. That is my top 13 from Cedar Point.
Solid list. I mean, nothing's like too crazy surprising. I guess Magnum being low is probably the most surprising thing, but aside from that, I mean, it makes sense. And it's a shame you didn't get Maverick in there.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that probably has got to slot in at like 2 or 3 if we're being realistic.
It was probably going to be 2.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Just based on like what you can see, and
yeah. I'm so bummed because that also opened like 2 days after my trip.
Of course. That's it. Like I was telling you before we started the show, the nature of the hobby sometimes is just cruel. Sometimes you get those days, those unlucky closures.
Yeah, I had a free day after my Cedar Point day, and we're like super hoping that it was going to open that next day because it had been down for 3 days prior.
Mm-hmm.
And they were supposed to have an Intamin rep out to look at it the day that we were there.
Right.
We were hoping maybe he got it fixed over the night. I called and they were like, no dice. So then we left and went down to Kings Island for the night and went to the water park and everything. And then the next day at our day at Kings Island, I looked on the app and it's like, up, it's open. I'm like, no, why?
Why?
The pain.
The pain.
But anyways, let's allow you to talk for a little bit.
Sure.
You want to do Carowinds, or do you want to do one of your other ones first?
I guess we could do Carowinds, and then I'll do one of mine quickly.
All right.
Because like the Epcot one is obviously not going to take that long. It's one coaster. But
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we can do Carowinds. Okay. So to tell the people, in terms of stuff missing from these lists, both of us will not have Wilderness Run, for obvious reasons. Both of us will not have Nighthawk because Nighthawk has been closed the whole season. So no Flying Dutchman from Carowinds on the list. Now that's it for him. For me, on my day at Carowinds, Carolina Cyclone was closed. So I do not have Carolina Cyclone on my list. I have a top 11 and you'll have a top 12. So if you want to do like 12 and 11, and then I'll just do 11.
Okay.
Because then from there we'll be fine. But
get ready for number 12, man.
Oh no, I'm scared. I'm scared.
Number 12, and I'm sure Eddie can 100% attest to this.
Okay.
One of the most painful coasters I have ever been on. Hurler at number 12. That desperately needs to get demolished or RMC'd,
bro,
faster than they can even make it. That coaster is pain beyond recognition. It
sure is.
Hurts.
I got off that and said I felt like I went 5 rounds with Mike Tyson.
Yeah. It hurts, man.
And the crazy thing is the layout doesn't really do that much, and yet it's still like really painful.
Oh yeah.
Like, what is going on? Like, even if it was a smooth ride, it wouldn't have been good because the layout is not good.
No,
it's just boring.
It's boring.
Yeah.
And then number 11, Kitty Hawk.
Kitty Hawk.
We had a very rough ride on Kitty Hawk. It was very jostly. I don't know if you had the same experience, but it was just a lot of just that.
Very jostly. I knew it was a Vekoma hang and bang, so I like braced myself really hard, and I didn't get my head banged until like the last bit, and from there it was like I couldn't do anything about it from there.
My head didn't really bang around. It was just a lot of just the actual like suspension, like the actual section we were in was just the whole car was moving.
And funny / sadly enough, that was one of the longest lines we waited in that day.
Yep.
You know, because the ops, it's one train and it's just slow. You know, like when we got up to the line, it was like, oh, doesn't look long, but it took a long time because the dispatches were so slow. And there's one train, so yeah. No, I feel both of those for sure. Are you ready for my number 11, aka my bottom spot?
Yeah, what do you got at number 11?
The most painful coaster I have ridden.
Don't you dare put this there.
Vortex.
No.
I have it at the bottom of my overall rankings. I hate it so much. I was in pain in my crotch. I was in pain in my shoulders. I was in pain in my head. Everywhere that I could feel pain, I felt it. This one, I got off and said I felt like I went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. Maybe because I'm tall, when sometimes shoulder restraints are kind of a problem for me because they push down on my shoulders really hard. So there was that. Plus, like, maybe I didn't do the stand-up thing correctly, and like I was like sore in my calves and stuff. And then the headbanging. So, you know, I don't think the layout is necessarily terrible for a stand-up coaster or anything, but I was hurt in so many different areas coming off the ride that I've never had like a coaster experience that unpleasant in my whole life. So I had to drop it to 11. That's
a damn shame. That's a damn shame.
I know it hurt.
Give me your number 10 before I kick your ass.
My number 10 is Hurler, the other extremely painful experience. So the 2 big pain rides, I had to put them at the bottom because of my extreme discomfort.
Yeah. I thought about doing that, but I was just like, you know, I'll give it some credit. I'll give it at least a little bit of credit because it's not the worst stand-up I've ever been on. Which is why Vortex is at number 10.
Fair enough.
I gave you shit for it being 11, but like it's a stand-up. It's gonna hurt regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even since I had been on another one before, so I at least knew how to make it at least bearable as far as getting the crotch
See, I
guard
didn't
up.
have that going in, so
And
just
did
didn't
you follow the rules that they said keep your head back against the headrest?
yeah, I tried to,
That
but
was your mistake number one.
Oh, really?
You do the exact
The
opposite.
exact opposite.
You put your head forward, so at least this gets hit with the shoulder harnesses, not your ears.
Man, I'll tell you what, I'll never forget the moment when we're coming around that corner and I see that corkscrew, and I knew that I was about to experience some real pain, and I did.
See, people hate on Vortex way too much. It's not the worst not the worst stand-up I've ever been on. That goes to Green Lantern.
I'll get back to you on that, but I'll tell you. And then like on the brake run, because like they're getting the second train ready to dispatch. So I'm just standing there, and I was like,
so long.
I was like, oh my god, this
sucks. their ops on Vortex were painfully slow.
Yeah, their ops in general were very hit or miss. Like some of them, like the big B&Ms and stuff, super impressive. Some of the other stuff, maybe not so much. But
I mean, but like I said, I didn't have nearly as bad of an experience on Vortex as a lot of people say. I mean, it's still not nearly as good as everything else at this park, but it's still not the worst stand-up I've ever been on, the worst coaster I've ever been on. Like, no.
For me, it is for now, but I'm sure something will top it. So should I move on? What is it now? 9?
Do you want to do 9?
Yeah, that's cool. So just to round it out, we have the same bottom 3. Number 9, Kitty Hawk. As we were saying, way too long of a wait time for what it was. Obviously it's like an advanced kiddie coaster, so it's like a kiddie coaster with like a little more thrill than something like Wilderness Run, but it's still not gonna like knock anyone's socks off. Yeah, but we've pretty much covered it on that one. So
yeah. And I'm sure my number 9 is probably your number 8. Is it Woodstock Express?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same Woodstock Express that I've been on numerous times. It's just a repainted ghoster coaster.
Yeah.
And a rethemed ghoster
coaster. I would say the same thing about this is it's like an advanced kiddie coaster.
It's like, see, it's not a bad kiddie coaster. These models of kiddie coaster are probably one of my favorite models of kiddie coaster.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
It's such an enjoyable experience. It's a nice mini wooden roller coaster.
Yep.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Like Eddie was complaining about going on, and I'm like, no, man.
The only problem was me.
It's so fun.
Me and my friend rode it, and the only problem was we were about as close physically as humanly possible. We were basically meshed into like one human.
Oh, did you guys ride in one car together?
We did.
Oh, nah, man.
So
me and Eddie took one look at the train and one look at us and said, nah.
No. Well, see, I'm kind of built like a street lamp, so we figured we could make it work, but it was still a tight squeeze. I still had fun on the ride. I still had fun.
Yeah, we got them thick thighs, and it was not gonna happen. Woodstock Express for me, number 9, and then that's number 8 for you.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to something a little bit more interesting. I'll say my number 8 then.
Okay, go for
it. Ricochet.
See, my number 7 is Ricochet.
God damn it. Yeah, Ricochet is
it's a wild mouse.
It's a wild mouse.
What can you say?
Yeah.
It's a competent wild mouse, but it's a wild mouse.
I debated putting Woodstock Express above it. Just because we didn't have that great of an experience with it. It was just very rough. But they also forced us to sit together.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Wasn't that great?
We had a pretty decent ride through on it.
We had a very heavy car.
Really?
It was me, Eddie, one other big boy, and then like a guy who was just slightly bigger than you. But we were just like 3 big boys and a street post.
Yeah, for us it was like obviously the 2 of us. My friend is like pretty much dead average in terms of build. And then it was like a father and his young daughter in front of us. So we didn't have a very heavy cart. We also rode it first. It was the first thing we rode. We tried to go to Nighthawk first, obviously, because capacity. So then it wasn't open. And we were like, well, I know wild mouses don't have great capacity either a lot of the time. So we'll just get this out of the way. So maybe it wasn't running as fast as when you rode it. But it was like we said, it was a wild mouse, you know.
Yeah, I kind of panicked when Nighthawk was closed because I didn't have a backup plan.
That's exactly what happened to me. So
I
just
didn't
started
really.
walking.
The next place that I knew where I was going to was Copperhead, so that's where we went first.
Yeah, because we
Um,
were heading towards Copperhead, but on the way we hit Ricochet and Cobras because they were like on the walk over there.
Yeah.
So
And you said that was your 7.
yep.
I just keep saying your list for you, man. Let's
So
see.
far we're pretty even.
Let's see. At my number 7, I have Carolina Gold Rusher.
And I have my number 6, Carolina Gold Rusher.
It's a really nice layout.
I like it. I mean, this was my first experience with an Aero mine train, so and like I was telling you earlier, I don't remember if we said it in the show or when we were not recording yet, but when I wrote it, it was only me. There was no one sitting next to me. So I think that kind of helped me a little bit. But yeah, I mean, for what it was, I think it succeeds, you know, and overall, I would say I liked it. I would ride it again. This is the first one on the list where it's like, I'd go ride that again.
Yeah, I don't know if I go that far. It was an enjoyable layout. I just wish they had singular restraints per person.
Yeah,
Or
that
at
would
least,
be nice.
You know, like at least a better restraint system where it just does not crush my legs and force me to cross my legs and tuck it under the bench so I can actually get the bar down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just
it is what it's one of those it is what it is rides, you know.
Okay, well, do you want to what so that was your 6?
That was my 6.
I guess I just have to keep going until I don't get one that you have, because
I think it's gonna be the same thing here if I'm being honest.
Flying Cobras.
Yeah. Flying Cobras 5.
6.
Flying Cobra 6. Again, similar to the Aero mine train, this was my first boomerang experience. And I would say it was fun. I didn't think it was like super, super rough or anything. I didn't headbang on it. And this one had the like better restraints, right?
Yeah, it has the best restraints.
So that helps with headbanging. Like I said, I hadn't been on one of these before. So for me, like the experience of going through the vertical loop backwards was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was particularly fun. Obviously, I know there's a bajillion boomerangs across the country, so I'm sure I'll easily get sick of those. But since it was my first one, I think that gives me a bit higher of an opinion on it because I had nothing to compare it to.
Hey, but don't worry, you'll soon enough you'll have the best one.
Jolly Rancher remix, right?
Hell yeah.
Surely that's the best. Like, come on.
It's gotta
now.
be.
Come on now.
But yeah, my opinion on it, I've been on a lot of them. There wasn't anything too spectacular about it, but it wasn't the roughest I've been on. I've been on a lot worse, which is why it's smack dab in the middle of my rankings.
Yeah,
At
fair
number
enough.
6.
Well, I know for sure what your number 5 is going to be. Probably.
Yeah.
The one I couldn't ride.
Yep. Number 5, Carolina Cyclone. It was just a really nice aero looper. It wasn't too bad. I mean, I didn't have that. Like, Eddie was complaining about it the entire time. He's like, "Oh, my head's banging back and forth." I'm like, "Well, tilt your head forward." Like, don't get hit by the actual restraints. I don't know. And then had the double loop and that really nice helix. It was a really cool layout for what it was. I do enjoy it more than I enjoyed Corkscrew at Cedar Point. It's much better and has a way better layout.
I love the repaint they did. It's definitely the prettiest coaster I got to look at and not ride. So
no, it's a really nice paint job.
I love that color in general. I just think it's really nice. So yeah.
All right. Well,
this is where it gets like interesting with Carowinds.
What's your number 4?
I think we're gonna differentiate here for sure. I think we're gonna differentiate. My number 4 is gonna be Afterburn.
Yeah.
Fun B&M invert. Very whippy, intense. Not better than Montu. Not better than Alpengeist. I don't know if it's better than either of the Dueling Dragons, but it's still good. I still liked it. I don't really have anything to complain about, but it's also not something that's like super like lives rent free in my head like man, I cannot stop thinking about this coaster. But for me, it's like the very clear, like, Carowinds is a top heavy park. We all know that. And the top 4 is kind of like the ones that everyone talks about. For me, this was the pretty clear 4, but it's still very clearly a notch above everything we've already talked about.
Yeah. I had a hard time between 3 and 4. Actually, I say that, yet I immediately put something at 3 before I put 4 down. Was like, do I regret that? I'm sure I will later, but at this point, no. Number 4 is Intimidator. It was a nice layout. I love the different seating arrangement that they have on it. For a B&M Hyper. It's actually really unique. I say that, but I've ridden now 2 of them that have that seating arrangement. But it's actually really cool, and the layout was really nice. It's a nice out and back layout with a lot of airtime. I just wish it had better, maybe scenery, because it's just a lot of, it's just a parking lot coaster, unfortunately.
It is, yeah.
Which is my only gripe about it, is that it's a parking lot coaster. But and that's probably one of the main reasons why I immediately thought of my number 3 at that number 3 spot. But yeah, it's not a bad ride. It's just not the best Intimidator.
Okay, I mean, that understandable.
Eddie likes to argue about that, but you know.
So number 3, this is where the controversy really hits, because my number 3 is Copperhead Strike. Copperhead Strike at number 3. Let me preface this by saying I only got 1 ride on this, because the day I was there, they were only running 1 train. So we waited like 45 minutes for it, and the rest of the day it was well over an hour. So never got a second ride, but the ride I did get was really good. It was super unique. Obviously chock full of hang time, above average theming for Cedar Fair. I don't have any complaints about Copperhead Strike. I think it was pretty sick. My first experience with a JoJo roll. I thought that was really fun. So no, yeah, I love the ride. Obviously, the biggest gripe is the launch has pretty much 0 power. But it kind of has to in a way, otherwise you don't get that hang time. So yeah, that's my number 3. I know that's controversial because of what that makes number 2, but
yeah, how dare you. Number 3 is Afterburn. It's just it's a very short coaster. That's my only issue with it. But I love the layout of it. I love the scenery. I wish I would have gotten a re-ride in the front, because we did the back.
Yeah, that's what
we got absolutely ripped through that layout in the back.
When we hit that brake run, I had to like collect myself for a bit. Like everything was spinning for a second. I was like,
you guys got back?
Yeah.
My God. I forced Eddie in the back, because I was like, the back, we are going to get absolutely torn through this layout. It is going to be fantastic.
And that we did.
And that we did. I love the scenery of that too. You got some of the trees, and then you have like the caverns like Montu has in that.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy that.
It's kind of like Montu Jr. in a lot of ways.
Like a baby Montu, maybe.
A little baby Montu.
But it's a really good average B&M invert. I wouldn't mark it too high.
I've definitely been on better ones.
Raptor's better, but but I mean, it's very, very good. I actually really enjoyed it. Like I said, I actually wish I would have gotten a re-ride on it.
Fair enough. Before I reveal this very controversial number 2, which everyone probably knows, I'm going to leave the suspense hanging for a second, because I just realized my computer is about to die. So I'm going to grab my charger. Give me 4 seconds. 4 seconds. All right. Are you feeling the suspense?
I am feeling all sorts of suspense.
By the way, I think this happened last time too, except my computer actually just died. but at least it was the end of the show. At this point, we're not even really close to the end, so I needed to get the charger. Anyways, yeah. So in case you didn't already figure it out, my number 2 is Intimidator. Now, my favorite force on a coaster is floater airtime. So obviously this appeals to me there, but I don't know if I just caught it on a magical day. I think I actually texted you like while I was there. I'm like, dude, I just rode Intimidator and I was flying out of my seat the whole time. Like, again, I don't know if this was your experience, but like I was sitting towards the back, and I was completely flying. Like the trims were hitting, don't get me wrong, the trims were hitting, but it didn't make me go back down into my seat. Like I was still floating. I don't know. I was getting yeeted the whole ride, and I couldn't believe it. So much so that as soon as I got off, I immediately got back in line and did it again. This was definitely my biggest surprise. I thought going into the day that it was pretty much going to be the clear number 4, but again, maybe I just caught it on a magical day, but I had an amazing experience with it. It was awesome. I was flying like crazy. I can't say much else. It got me that day. It grabbed me by the throat, and it just kept me there. I don't know. I was into it. That's for sure.
I mean, you talking about it, it kind of makes me want to do a re-ride, because we did front for Intimidator. And I feel like back would have been a little bit better, just because of that getting more airtime. But
yeah, I think I rode back and then second to back, and both times I was just maybe. And I rode this later in the day as well, like after lunch and everything. So it had been running throughout the day, and it was hot. I don't know what it was, but I got 2 rides on it, and both of them were absolute magic. So maybe if I go back to Carowinds and ride it again, I won't feel the same way, but based on the rides I got, I have to put it at number 2.
Yeah, for me, number 2 was not a surprise to me at all. Number 2 for me was Copperhead. I loved that coaster. I loved the theming. I will say that you are correct that I do kind of wish that the launches were a little bit more forceful, but the lateral G's on there and the hang time elements, and just me and Eddie kept saying it over and over again, that like kind of upside down top hat was so cool. We like, neither of us were expecting it, and it just kind of hit us, and we're like, oh well then. And it was actually so good, and since we got there first, we actually got off and got right back in line. So we sat front for the first go through, and then we sat back for the second ride. And yeah, you had some good moments of ejector in the back. It was really nice. And that JoJo roll, the second JoJo roll I've been on. Come on.
It's so unique.
You just got to act like you just got to play dead and just let your body go limp as you're going through it. So you're just flying out of your seat. It's great. It was a good coaster, and it's one of, it was so good that I did my whole thing with like buying nano coasters of my favorite coaster at each park. I bought that one on top of my number 1 just because I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot. I got a back row ride for my ride, and I was definitely the biggest disappointment from the day, besides obviously no Nighthawk and Cyclone, was not being able to get a re-ride on this. We checked various times throughout the day to see, hey, maybe did they up the operations? Like, is there a second train on? But it just never happened. So maybe with another re-ride, I would have put it at number 2. I really like it though. I really like it. And I look forward to the day where I can ride it again for sure.
Yeah, I wish Mock Rides would open more launch coasters in the US, because that was actually a really good coaster. And the theming, man, for Cedar Fair Park, that theming is great.
Right?
It's like a whole
there's a show scene.
Yeah, there's a show scene in the first launch.
I'm like, what is happening? This is Cedar Fair, and there's a show scene.
Yeah, we stopped in there, and it was doing a whole show scene. Me and Eddie just looked at each other like, what is going on?
Wait, what? Yeah, no, very impressive stuff for sure.
Do you want to reveal our number 1s? I'm sure everyone's figured it out.
I mean, it's obvious. I don't think there's a soul that's gone to Carowinds and hasn't put this at number 1, but yeah, it's Fury. It's Fury 325. I mean, man, I don't really even know where to start with this thing. Maybe I could start with the fact that I showed my stepdad a picture of the drop before I went, and he said I'm gonna die on it. Maybe the insane mix of forces on this thing, the uniqueness of the turnaround, the little tunnel sequence. I mean, there's so many directions you could go, but for me, it all comes back to that first drop. Like, my first ride on this, I got 3 rides throughout the day. I'm not really nervous going into coasters anymore, but I was a little nervous, like, because this thing is so imposing and intimidating when you look at it. You're like, holy shit. Like, you see it in pictures, but then you see it in person and it's completely different. I was very thankful that the lift hill gets you up there so fast. If it was a slow moving lift, I probably would have been like, oh man, I'm gonna die.
I mean, it's still a slow moving lift, man. It's a chain lift.
Yeah, but it's like a pretty quick chain lift. And like, the thing is that the hill is so tall that it's like, it's gonna take a minute regardless. But wow, you know, the first drop, it takes your breath away, and then the coaster doesn't let up from there.
Yeah,
it's a perfect ride. It really is. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad I was able to get a POV of me on it, just because you could overhear me and Eddie just freaking out over the audio as we're on it. It's just great.
It was everything I had hoped for, and I had really played it up in my head, and sometimes that's a great way to make yourself disappointed, but this one didn't happen like that at all.
Did you get a night ride?
It was like dusk. So it was I think we had to leave a little after 7 because my friend he had work to do. He works from home and he had like a deadline for an article, whatever. So we were there from open to about 7, and I made that like my last ride of the night. It was as close to a night ride as I could have gotten. And I think the park closed at 8 anyway, which would have been a little before sunset. So would have loved the full night ride though, but it was dark enough to where like when you saw the tunnel effect, it was like very visible. Yeah. So
I got a night ride. I got an in, like when I was in the line, I got in, the park closed. So nice. I got a night ride. Like it was so unfortunate though, because I was literally 2 trains away from being on it when the fireworks were going off at the park. I was super bummed because their fireworks for Grand Carnival are like, they launch off like maybe half a dozen fireworks and that's it. It's not like a show,
you know.
But it's great during the day. It's great at night. I was super hyped for the night ride just because of that tunnel sequence. I absolutely wanted to see those things lit up. They're lit up during the day, but you can't really notice it.
Yeah, you can't tell.
But
it's like dark out.
That was super cool. And
how many total rides did you get on it?
Just 2.
Just the 2? That's good enough. I mean, you know, it's good.
But I want to know your opinion on the out of nowhere head chopper. Out of nowhere head chopper.
Like I said, man, the ride has everything. You know, the ride has everything.
we wrote. I completely like. I didn't know it was there, so we were riding it, and I'm like, that was dangerously close. Like, what?
Man, slightly off topic, but the other night, me and our good friend Adrian from Watch TV.
We got on it 3 times. I forgot.
Oh, you did? You got it?
Yeah, me and Eddie went on, and then me and Eddie went on, and then we got off, and then went right back on, and then I got a third night ride.
That's pretty much what happened. Like, I got my first ride, I think like right before lunch is when we did it. And then we came back later and I got the 2 rides back to back. And my plan was to just keep lapping it until we had to leave. So I got 2 more rides. But yeah, no, really good. Me and Adrian though, we did that you just reminded me of this. We did a night ride on Manta a couple nights ago, and we got it during the fireworks. So like we're going up into the pretzel loop as like fireworks are going off. Religious experience.
Manta, man.
It was awesome.
Manta's
awesome.
Manta's underrated.
Manta. I love Manta too.
It's so underrated.
But yeah, no, Fury takes the cake here. Overall thoughts on the park, really good. Operations, you know, as I think we said earlier, or maybe it was before we started recording, I don't know, but a little inconsistent. The operations on Fury were brilliant, fantastic. Same with Intimidator. Afterburn, slower on some other rides. Sometimes it's the nature of the ride that does that. We ate food at Harmony Hall. I got a pulled pork sandwich. It was pretty good, but it cost $15, which was steep. Yeah, it's like their big like dining hall.
It's the one next to Intimidator?
Yeah.
That's where we went for dinner.
Yeah, with like all those like tables and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
When did I get there? I think I got a pulled pork grilled cheese.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
Like it was good, but it was expensive, but it was good.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember
then,
it being that expensive.
well, I also got a Powerade, but it still came out to like
Oh.
$15, which was a bit steep. And then we got on Boo Blasters. I thought that was fun. And we did the like sky observation tower thing, and that's always cool too. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we did. On top of that, we did Boo Blasters and the Plants vs Zombies.
Plants vs Zombies.
Because we wanted to do Plants
I
vs
wanted to
Zombies.
do. My friend was actually super like that was like my friend that I took, like he likes roller coasters, but he's not like an enthusiast or anything. And he actually like they kind of like after like 3 or 4 rides, he started to feel like kind of nauseous from them. So he was really looking forward to PVZ. So I was bummed, especially for him, that it never opened throughout the day when we were there. And I wanted to do it too because I loved the Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare video game that came out, and it was kind of like that. And there's not too many attractions that are based on video games, so it's a shame that I didn't get to do it, especially now that it's dead.
Yeah, it's a shame that people hate on it so much.
Yeah,
I mean,
it seems
see,
like it looked cool,
I have a feeling that their main hate is that it was so hyped up when it first opened.
Yeah,
that's what I believe the issue is with it.
Yeah,
I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, obviously for us that wouldn't have been a problem.
So like I went into it thinking it was going to be terrible, and I left and I was like, that was actually really fun. I wish that like I wish Universal made a similar ride with that. With like, I don't like them, but like if they made a ride like that with the Minions, I wouldn't hate it. Like I could like see it. I could see it. I could see it working with that.
Okay.
Where like you use like Gru's shrink ray and shrink the Minions. That'd be like super cool.
Yeah. So Carowinds, good park. I'll tell you what they need to do. They need to kill Vortex and Nighthawk and put a really good modern GCI wooden coaster in that plot. And then they need the RMC hurler. And then you have an unbelievable top 6.
I'm gonna be honest, as far as the park itself goes with theming and everything, it was probably my least favorite of the 4 that I went to this summer.
I could see that. It's definitely very plain in a lot of places. Obviously Camp Snoopy looks good, but you're gonna get that at every Cedar Fair park.
I love me a Camp Snoopy, man.
Yeah.
It was so nice seeing Camp Snoopy since Dorney replaced it with Planet Snoopy. Because Dorney's Camp Snoopy was so nice when it was there.
Yeah.
And I was so bummed out when they overhauled it to make it Planet Snoopy.
Gross. Camp Snoopy all the way.
Yeah. Fucking wait till you see Knott's Camp Snoopy, man.
Man.
Oh,
soon.
Fight Club Camp Snoopy, dude.
Hashtag soon. I'm booking my flight when we get off this call. So
Fight Club's Camp Snoopy. Because that's where the fight was.
Yeah.
That's where the fight was in Camp Snoopy. Imagine that. Just a bunch of kids and there's just teenagers fighting, man.
It. Oh man.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
We might talk about that later when we get to the actual other news.
We might. Yes.
All right. Do you wanna talk about one of your other?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and just quickly throw in Epcot. So I think I said at the top of the show that I don't have a Disney Pass anymore because they kind of suck now. But my friend who works at Disney caught me in, and I got to go on Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. And it's my number 1 coaster at Epcot, No, it's I debated for a while. I'm like, is it my favorite Disney coaster? But it's between like that and Everest. Right now I'd probably say Guardians, but that could easily change at any point. The best way I can describe it to someone who has not ridden it is the ride experience, if you've been on Cobra's Curse at Busch Gardens, is kind of similar to that, except for the fact that there's like a backwards launch at the beginning, which was definitely the best part of the ride. So it's kind of like Cobra's Curse in terms of like the overall feel, but obviously there's like stuff going on, like there's show scenes and whatnot, but it's not super maximalist or anything like that. It's kind of just like an upgraded Space Mountain, like there's stars and stuff and like little planets.
How does it compare to Gringotts? Because that's kind of when they announced it and like what the ride system was going to be like. That's what my mind initially went to.
It's definitely a lot more coastery than Gringotts, because Gringotts like stops and you like look at show scenes. This ride never stops. It's like a traditional roller coaster in that way. But they couldn't really have show scenes because the ride doesn't stop. So you're kind of just zipping past. You see like planets and stars and stuff like that. Obviously, the build up with all the pre-shows and everything is really good. It's Disney quality. A lot of people, I remember when the ride like first opened, they were going and riding it and saying it was like God tier or whatever. Listen, like as a Disney ride, maybe people will say that. As a coaster enthusiast, it's not anything that's gonna make you go crazy. But yeah, it's definitely fun. And like I said, it's right now, I'd probably say it's my favorite Disney coaster. You do have to consider the recency bias there, of course. And that could change over time, and I have to go on Incredicoaster this fall, so that might change my mind. So, I would say overall, it's a good one. It's a good one. Top 20 overall. So, oh yeah, let me ask, where is Fury in your overall? Let me ask you that.
2.
2? Okay.
It was 1, and then Steel Vengeance.
And then it was
happened.
not.
It was very quickly dethroned.
Okay.
Yeah. It was number 1 for all but a month.
Well, that's something, right?
Yeah. Unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
Obviously, not much else to say on that because it's just the one coaster there at Epcot. But yeah, it was good. That's all I've got.
All right. Which one do you want me to do next? Kings Island,
Kings Island or Kennywood? Right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Kings Island or Kennywood?
Do Kings Island.
Kings Island, and then you'll do Busch Gardens, and then I'll do Kennywood to round us off. All right. Sounds good. All right, Kings Island, we got another 13 pack. I'll try to go through them as quick as I possibly can.
You did everything except Wilderness Run, essentially, if that's what it's called there.
They do not have a Wilderness Run.
Whatever's like the smallest kiddie coaster there.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever that is.
But everything else
is a
you
Wilderness
got.
Run. Yes, it is. But yeah, everything else I got.
Perfect.
Right. Yeah, I don't think anything was closed. Thankfully, that was the only park that something didn't go wrong.
Kings Island is famous for their operations, so
their operations were fantastic. There was not a single coaster that I thought was an abnormally long wait than what it should have been.
Fair enough.
Starting off number 13, similar coaster to Kitty Hawk, Flying Ace Aerial Chase. I enjoyed this more than Kitty Hawk. The line was still just as long. But it wasn't nearly as jostly as Kitty Hawk.
Okay.
It was a much smoother ride and more enjoyable, and I didn't have a kid heckling me the entire time.
You had a kid heckling you?
Oh yeah. Me and Eddie got off, like we pulled into the station because the entire time me and Eddie are like, ow, 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 this is painful. We pulled into the station, this kid turns around and says, "Do you guys ever shut up?" And we're like, "You're like 5."
Dang, he was not happy.
Like,
that's awesome.
And then I'm like looking at his mom, like, control your kid. Come on. Like, I don't have to do your parenting for you.
Right.
Like, oh my God. But no, Flying Ace Aerial Chase. It's not
what it is.
It is what it is. And unfortunately, the lineup at Kings Island is so enjoyable that Woodstock Express is at number 12. I would love to have put it above something, but it is what it is. It's another coaster. So it's another wooden coaster. It's fine. I can't really go into more detail than I already did when we talked about Carowinds. So,
fair enough.
Number 11, a coaster that I have been on before, but this is the original name. In Vertigo. In Vertigo. Because I was on Stinger at Dorney Park, which was originally in Vertigo at California's Great America, but then became Stinger. But now I've been on in Vertigo, the original name of the coaster, not the same one. It's the last remaining one in the Cedar Fair brand, I believe, of the inverted boomerang.
As far as I know, yeah.
And surprisingly, this one was less painful than Stinger, but still not great. It's an inverted.
Is it like awkward?
It's very, yeah.
Because you're like looking across at somebody.
Yeah, it's very awkward.
That's always been my thought with Vertigo.
Yeah, it's very awkward because you're trying to like make conversation, so it's not like awkward, but then it becomes more awkward because you have to stop your conversation halfway through the ride because you're just in pain.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was a little bit better than Stinger, but not amazing.
Okay.
Number 10, I had to put this at number 10 just because I've already been on one and there's nothing too special about it. The Backlot Stunt Coaster. I was hoping to get on the last remaining of the Backlot Stunt Coasters when going up to Canada's Wonderland, but it just did not happen. Maybe next year, but Backlot Stunt Coaster, it's fine. There's nothing too great about it. And comparative to the rest of the park, I actually
Yeah.
There's a lot better attractions at the park, including number 9, which is the Bat. The other inverted or suspended aero coaster, which was what Iron Dragon was, and this is the one I was talking about that was better than Iron Dragon. I actually did enjoy this one a lot more. Super fast, freaking flew through that layout. And they actually really did utilize the hinge action on the suspension, where like you were ripping through corners fast enough that you were almost like parallel with the freaking with the track. It was really nice. I really enjoyed that coaster and would have loved to put it higher, but I mean it's still nothing too extravagant. Maybe if they add the different ride vehicles that they've been replacing on those types of coasters, where they're actually like floorless suspended coasters instead.
Right.
I'd find that more interesting, where it's like the what's the other company that makes the suspended looping coasters? Vekoma. If they put their Vekoma suspended looping coaster restraints on that, I mean, it wouldn't be too. I don't know. It'd just be interesting if they change that up a bit, because there's nothing too special about it. Moving on, the only mine cart coaster that I actually enjoyed this summer, Adventure Express at number 8. I really enjoyed this ride. The theming on it was really nice. That lift hill at the very end is a kind of a downer, but
it's like almost to the point where it's funny. So
yeah,
it's like, you know,
it's such a big like build up, and then it's just back in the station. There was some moments where it was painful, but like especially on like my back, where after I got off, I was like, I feel like I should probably call a chiropractor. But like I said, the theming on it was really nice for just a normal like mine cart coaster. It was really fun, and they actually had normal restraints that were just lap bars and not the everyone's goes down at once. So I actually had a more comfortable ride. Number 7, this is as far as I could go with this one. The Racer. It wasn't racing when we were there, at least when we got on it. I was really bummed out about that because it was our 3rd racing coaster of our trip, and I was really hoping to actually get 3 for 3 wins, which we technically did if you count that as a forfeit, but like it was a nice, fine out and back layout, nothing too great about it. I kind of debated swapping it with number 6 just because I'd been on number 6 before, but I decided to keep it that way anyways. Number 6, Flight of Fear. I've been on 3 out of the 4 existing models of this. I've been on Flight of Fear at King's Dominion, Joker's Jinx at Six Flags America, now Flight of Fear at Kings Island. They're nice coasters. The overall theming, I just love the theming of the coaster.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I enjoy it more than Joker's Jinx, even though Joker's Jinx is outside and not a dark indoor coaster, which is similar to Poltergeist, which is the last one that I need to get on.
Well, like Joker's and Poltergeist, they're just kind of like generic spaghetti bowl coasters, but at least with Flight of Fear, it's like in the dark, so it's kind of different. Plus, you have the theming in the station.
So number 6, it goes smack dab in the middle. And now the most controversial.
Oh no.
Number 5.
Oh no. What's he gonna say?
Mid Orion at number 5.
I knew it.
Mid. Orion is a mid giga,
Now, a mid giga sounds to me still like a pretty dang good coaster.
bottom of the barrel. It is my least favorite giga.
But how much is that saying is my question.
I've ridden B&M Hypers that I enjoy more.
Well,
What
that's
is
fair.
that saying?
B&M Hypers are great too.
Garbage coaster.
Garbage. And well, why is it number 5 then?
Because it's Orion. Come on. I can only badmouth it so much. But like, people are overhyping this. They're like, oh my god, it's so good. I'm like, no, there's barely any airtime moments on it. The layout's boring. It's a giga. Get out of here. They had to dig into the ground to make it a giga. You can't give yourself a 295 foot lift hill and then dig into the ground 5 feet to give you a 300 feet drop and call it a giga. Get out of here.
It does make me wonder, because this is like the newest giga, right? So it's like, why didn't they just make it taller?
I don't know.
You know,
They
like if it was the first
left,
giga, it's understandable, but
they
like
left 15 feet of track somewhere. I think they lost
apparently,
it.
yeah, apparently.
I don't know, but yeah, number 5, mid, Orion. And speaking of B&Ms B&M Hypers that I enjoyed more than Orion, number 4, Diamondback.
Really, you know what? I actually thought this was gonna be a little higher. Actually,
I debated between 3 and 4 for Diamondback, but Diamondback ends up at 4. It's nice. It did get a bit, I don't want to say boring at points. I do love the splashdown, and the fact that it's the longest coaster in the world with a splashdown effect is awesome. And that splashdown was great. And the helix before you head into the splashdown was awesome as well. But the trim brakes is what killed it for me. The mid-course trim brakes, it really slowed down the speed on it, which is understandable. But there were points where I was watching other people go on it and they hit those trim brakes, and I didn't think they were going to make it up the hill out of the splashdown because it slowed down so much. I thought they were going to valley in the splashdown.
Dang. That'd be quite the evac.
Yeah, it would have. Number 3, I was hoping that this was gonna, I overhyped this for myself, I believe, which is why it ended up at 3. Banshee. It's still not a bad coaster, don't get me wrong. But the back rides are not nearly as good as I was hoping they would be. I rode the first ride I had on it was in the back, and it was just very jostly. And it wasn't like headbanging, but just very back and forth movement, where it just felt like the back car was just kind of moving back and forth. And it just wasn't very smooth for it being as new as it is. I've ridden a lot smoother B&M inverts, but I do love those restraints. I wish they implemented those restraint systems.
Those look nice
on every B&M invert. That would make every single one of those astronomically better.
The thing to me that's appealing about Banshee from a distance is that it's maybe the most unique B&M invert in terms of the layout. There's some more like drawn out elements, which you don't get on many inverts. This thing's also a beast in terms of size.
Oh yeah.
It's like
longest B&M invert.
Yeah. So it's definitely appealing. And also it has one of the coolest ride signs I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God. Yes. There's a
Why
reason
is that
I made
thing
it
so sick?
there's a reason I made it my thumbnail. But
I mean, it's cool. I mean, what can you
and
say?
it's got the mist and the fog. And
I
I
know.
love the whole theming of the attraction, because you can hear from like that entire area of the park, you can hear the Banshee screech.
Yeah.
Like it plays every so often, and the actual like graveyard that they have of coasters past is awesome. And just everything about that coaster is like theming and everything is just awesome. I loved Kings Island strictly because of the theming that they put into their coasters, which takes me to number 2. As far as theming goes on coasters, this was a massive surprise for me of a coaster. It's a coaster that I completely overlooked heading into this park, that I just didn't even register on my radar of being something I should have been excited for, which is why on the list from last time, we were talking about our top 10s of like what we were possibly getting on this year.
Mhm.
This didn't even come close to making my list. Mystic Timbers. Absolutely loved
See,
this coaster.
this is where we're opposites because, spoiler alert, I'm planning to probably, hopefully, go to Kings Island next year. And for me, this is the most anticipated ride.
Holy shit. Like, I had no expectations going into it other than just to beware of the shed. That's all I knew, was just beware of the shed.
Right.
But that coaster was fantastic. I think I got 3 rides on it when I was there over the day and a half that I went at Kings Island. And I got 2 night rides on it. Night rides on that are amazing. Honestly, I would rather it be closed during the day just because it's just the day rides just don't give that theming justice. Like, you have to go on it at night for that theming to really kick in, because the theming is just so awesome, and it's so like, it's a paranormal type thing. It's just extraterrestrial, all sorts of different things. It's just so, and the build up that you get heading through the queue into the station, because they have like trail cams on TVs all throughout the
Cool.
The queue. It is really cool. And the audio as you're going up the hill, they talk you like through your mission as you're going up the hill. But I will say that's one of my main gripes with Kings Island, with their wood coasters. The lift hills were painfully slow. Like, it was almost a crawl. Like, I could have walked up the lift hill faster than it was going up. And that also goes for what my number 1 was. The Beast.
The Beast.
Also painfully slow lift hill on both hills.
Yeah, I was gonna say on 2.
Oh my god, it was so slow. But my first ride on that, completely unintentionally, was a night ride. I just didn't think about it. We got there late, our first day there, and we were like, I don't think I'm gonna on the Beast today. But we ended up over in that section of the park anyways at night, and we were like, screw it, we're gonna get on. The issue with the 50th celebration and the Beast is that they close off the line, or they close the coaster at 9:30 because of the celebration, because they light off the fireworks in the woods by the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want shrapnel raining down on you as you're going
That's
on
fair.
the coaster.
Yeah, that's probably
it makes
fair.
sense, but they close the coaster at 9:30 and then don't reopen it for like another hour. So you can get in line until 10, but you're going to end up waiting in a non-moving line for half an hour before it opens back up. But we got in line at 9:30. So we sat in line for an hour, just it not moving. And it was just so boring, but that's my only gripe with it, is that it just takes forever during the 50th anniversary because of the fireworks. But when they say that's the world famous night rides, man, holy shit. That is by far probably my favorite night ride I've ever been on, because it's dark. The only lights that you have out in those woods is the moon, man. That is it. It is you. Yeah, I went on it during the day. I think I got 3 rides on the Beast as well. Went on it twice once during the day, once at dusk, once completely dark. And just that night ride is insane. I mean, the day ride is also great, but when you can't see where you're going, when you go through those tunnels, yeah, you're like, I don't know when I'm getting out of this tunnel.
Right.
Because it just seems like it goes on forever, because you get in there and it's just pitch black because there's no light seeping through anywhere.
You're in the woods, you know?
It's great. I loved the Beast. I cannot say more enough about it, which is
all right.
Why?
Oh, here it comes.
The
Nano coaster.
So I still have to build it.
It'll probably take 6 years to build that one because it'll be so big.
But I got that one. That was unfortunately the only one that I got from Kings Island. Well, I did get their Parkscapes one of the actual park for the 50th anniversary. I was debating between that and getting Mystic Timbers, but I decided to get the Parkscape instead. But like I said, Beast, number 1 at Kings
Beast
Island.
number 1.
A very interesting take, to be honest, because a lot of people don't think it's really rough.
Really?
A lot of people
didn't
say
they
it's
retrack
rough.
it? Didn't they
retrack
it?
And that retrack is great. They increased the drop degree on the second drop, and the helix is now tighter.
Maybe people just got to get back out there and do it now.
It's so good, man. That helix, it sucks you into the seat. It is great. It is life altering.
Hopefully next year.
You got to get out there, man. You got to
hopefully
get out there.
Okay, Busch Gardens.
Yeah. Talk about
Busch Gardens. All right. So like I was saying at the beginning of the show, last time I went to Busch Gardens, I don't remember what year it was, but the newest coaster was SheiKra. So that means there's there's 4 coasters basically that I hadn't ridden since SheiKra opened. And then of course, I hadn't ridden a lot of them in a while. The only one missing is the kiddie coaster, Grover, or whatever it is, Air Grover. It might be Air Grover or it's Super Grover's Boxcar Derby. It'd be one of the two. I don't know which one it is, but I don't have that one. But I have 10. I have 10 because there's the one defunct one that I still have in my rankings. So we'll start with number 10, and that is Sand Serpent. Again, it's just the Wild Mouse. The Wild Mouse. Number 9, this actually, it might be a little controversial straight from the jump, but number 9, I have Scorpion. It's a ride that exists, kind of outdated. It has some very heavy positive G's in places, and that's kind of the point of the ride, but not exactly my favorite force ever. So it's a ride. I don't know. What do you think about it? Are you not on the Scorpion train?
I mean, it's not terrible. I don't know if I'd put it at 9.
It's all right.
I put the kiddie coaster below it.
Yeah, I mean, I would put the kiddie coaster at 11 probably if I have it, if I had it.
Nah.
Nah.
It's better than Sand Serpent.
Fair. Sand Serpent, even for a Wild Mouse, is kind of below average, to be fair.
Love me a kiddie coaster, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Number 8 is not a kiddie coaster. It is a defunct coaster, and that's the OG Gwazi. This was a 2-sided roller coaster. I don't know which side I rode, but I know I only rode it once because it was paying the ride. I keep in mind, I was like 12 or 13 or whatever when I rode this. So you would think like my tolerance for something like that would be like pretty high, but this was the first roller coaster I ever rode that like left me in pain at the end because of how rough it was. And even you take that aside, it didn't really do anything particularly interesting layout wise from what I remember from it. Obviously, I'm going off of rides from a long time ago, but I think chances are if this thing were to still exist, I'd probably dislike it even more now than I would have when I was 12 or 13. So that's the OG Gwazi. Number 7, this is a coaster that's a little polarizing. I personally fall on the side of it's overrated, and that's Kumba. Not a Kumba guy. I'm not a Kumba guy. Not a Kumba guy either.
No.
It's
she rough. She
is rough. She is rough. I would love for that rumor to be true where they're gonna knock it down and build a Giga. That would be great. Honestly though, if they knock it down and put anything, I'd be happy. It's very rough, like Michael said. Just I don't know. I'm not a fan of Kumba. Number 6, we have Cobra's Curse. It's pretty unique. Obviously, the lift hill is very unique. Spinny coasters aren't really something that really stick out to me that much. Mainly because like carnival spinny rides make me nauseous. I haven't been on a spinning coaster that has made me nauseous yet. Like really. I've been on like Primeval Whirl. which was not a fun one for sure.
That was the first thing I was gonna say. I was like,
Yeah,
that haven't made you nauseous? Have you been on a Prime
yeah,
before?
that was not a fun ride. Rest in peace. Actually, not in peace.
I never rode it because of the fact that I was like, I'm gonna get sick on this and I don't want to.
Yeah, like I won't do like carnival rides and stuff like Universal, for example, like Storm Force. I won't ride that because that's the kind of ride that makes me sick. But you know, this one, we also, when we rode it, we didn't spin that much on our ride through. I've only been on it once. The theming is really good in the queue though.
I love
So
Cobras Curse, man.
yeah, it's a fun ride. This is the first one on the list where it's like, this is good.
I'm a huge advocate for Cobra's Curse.
Really?
There's a lot of things that I would rate Cobra's Curse over
Okay.
at Busch Gardens. I can't remember what else is at Busch Gardens, but I feel like I'd at least rate it over one more thing that you have on your list.
Well, we shall see. Number 5 is going to be Tigris. And this is
I would rate it over Tigris.
This is one that was like close for me between 5 and 6. Obviously, this is the only Skyrocket 2 I've been on so far, but I think it's a really good ride that I think a lot of smaller parks should be getting because it takes up like no space and it has some good moments. You know, the launches are fun. The like kind of slow roll is fun. Obviously, it doesn't blow me away, but for what it is, for the footprint that it takes up, I think it's genius.
I wish Dorney would get rid of Possessed and put in a Skyrocket 2.
I would rather have a Skyrocket 2 over an Impulse any day.
I would rather have a Skyrocket 2 over an Impulse.
Yeah.
I love Possessed, don't get me wrong, but I mean, as repetitive as Skyrocket 2s are, it's much better than an Impulse.
So at number 4, we have Sheikra. Obviously B&M Dive. It's a fun one. Obviously it's a bit of a one-trick pony, I would say. It does have the splashdown, which is cool. Yeah, I like Sheikra. I remember the first time I rode this, like I said, Sheikra was the newest coaster in the park. And we were pretty young when my dad took us. And, you know.
I just realized what you're putting above.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh my God.
Well, 1 and 2 are obviously.
Obviously, but I don't agree with what number 3 is.
What's coming?
I don't agree with this.
But yeah, no. So Sheikra, like, we went and it was kind of that coaster that was looming in the back of our heads all day. But me and my sister were quite scared of it. And finally, the end of the day, we get in line, we get on, and me and my sister are shitting bricks. We're freaking out. And the thing that scares the most was how it like kind of hangs you over before it drops. But of course, when we rode it, we had a blast. Now, I will say, this is probably going to change because when we went to Busch Gardens, we didn't get on Sheikra because we were focusing on the rides I hadn't done yet. And we just didn't end up having time to get to it. So this is based off a really, really old ride through of Sheikra. So once I do it again, it could move up. Number 3 is Cheetah Hunt. This is solely based on the layout. I think the layout of this ride is awesome. It's not the most intense or thrilling thing you're gonna ride, but it has a pretty solid launch. That first little element coming out of the launch is cool. It's different. And I really like the switchbacks and stuff. It's long. It makes you feel like you're a cheetah running through the woods. But I'll tell you what, when we hit that brake run, I was in pain in the shoulders because I am 6'3", and this ride was like pushing my shoulders down like hard. Like it would, maybe I could have sat in the seat better or something. I don't know. But I also got stapled like going up into that first element. So the whole ride, I'm just like, I was like my arms were starting to go numb by the end of the ride. It was that much pressure.
Oh, wow.
So it's one that I want to ride again to see like if I sit in the seat like differently, if there's a strategy or something to avoid the direct pushing from the restraints. But it was pretty rough for me. But I just thought the layout was so much fun. I didn't want to put it too low, but I do think on a re-ride of Sheikra, it's going to get bumped. I do think that.
Yeah, I've only been on Sheikra once.
Mm-hmm.
And and maybe it was the first time since the first time I went on Cheetah Hunt, I overhyped it to myself just because everyone was like, "Oh man, Cheetah Hunt's so great." So then I gave it another chance when I rewrote it when I went there to get on Gwazi, get on Iron Gwazi, and I was just like, okay, maybe it'll be better. It just still doesn't do it for me. It's still, I think it's one of the, other than Kumba, it's probably the most overhyped coaster at Busch Gardens Tampa.
Yeah, and I could see it. I could see it being overhyped as well, just because of some of the things that people have said about it is like a little bit out there. But it's certainly not even close to the top two.
No.
Number 2 is going to be Montu, the best B&M invert that I've been on so far. It's a absolute beast. The Batwing. I mean, I really don't even need to say any more than the Batwing. It exists. It's a real thing. You get to go through those cool little tunnels, and every inversion just works on this thing. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. It should be the blueprint for B&Ms, like for B&M inverts. Like, hey, don't make a copy of it, but like, let's look at what Montu does right and see what we can put. I love that thing. And I mean, like I said, when I was a kid and I went there so long ago, I just remember loving this ride to pieces, and I still do.
Now put those new restraints on there, and you got
then you got yourself a world class.
Then you got yourself just next level, man.
Yeah. And number 1 is, of course, Iron Gwazi. My first RMC in general, not even just my first hybrid, but my first RMC. And it sure did deliver. We got 2 rides on this, one in the back and one in the second row. I like the back better. The first drop in the back, I mean, I thought I was going to get flung from my seat. I don't think I've felt ejector on a drop like that before. And then you have everything else. I mean, the coaster never lets up. It never takes a break. The barrel roll drop thing.
The Gwazi death roll.
The death roll. Oh my God, Michael. It was demonic. It was a demonic moment. I couldn't believe what just happened. And then didn't even really get a chance to think about it because of everything else that kept happening. You have a stall, a really good stall at that. You have the outer bank, like when you go past the station.
Mm-hmm.
That was an awesome moment too. It's world class. I love it. I can't wait to ride the other RMC hybrids now. I mean, I kind of already couldn't wait, but this just reinforced that idea. And it felt really good after, like, you know, because I became an enthusiast in like the worst possible year to do that in 2020. So now I have all this catching up to do, but in 2020 I couldn't travel. And after like hearing everything about RMC hybrids for so long, it was like I finally get to go on one, and it was just awesome. It was just awesome. So it has to be number 1 for sure. And yeah, and maybe it'll be challenged if they can knock down Kumba and build a Giga. You know, we'll see. We will see.
Iron Gwazi's good. I do. There were parts of it that I, now looking back on, I'm like, okay, that kind of drags on a bit, where it just kind of just lets you chill for a bit, and I'm like, nah, man, I like nonstop action, man, which is what Steel Vengeance gave me. You did not get a break on Steel Vengeance.
And Steel Vengeance is so long too that it's just
and that's the best part about it.
Yeah.
It's so long and you do not get a break at all.
But yeah, no, it's an awesome ride.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, Gwazi's great.
It's a heck of a lot better than what was there before, I can tell you that. Wow.
I never got on the original, so I wouldn't know.
It was, you didn't really miss anything. It was not only painful, but like I said, the layout wasn't. I'm sure you've seen POVs. It was nothing really. I mean, and the crazy thing is when they built this, they added like 100 feet, you know, because Gwazi was only like 105 feet. So they went all in on this conversion for sure.
I do wish it was a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's my only complaint with it, is it did feel slightly short. That's why it's not like number 1 overall or anything. But it's
also really spread out.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of tight like elements in there where it's like it goes with like it gets close to itself, or it has any head chopper effects. It doesn't really do that a lot, which is kind of why. Which is kind of like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, man. But yeah, there you go. All right, well, let's move on to my last my last park, and then we'll talk about some news as quick as we can because this is dragging on so much. This is gonna be such a long video.
At least you won't really have to edit it that much.
Kennywood was my last park. We're just gonna go real quick through the first two. Exterminator was number 6. It's an indoor wild mouse, like spinning wild mouse. The theming is cool on it. It's just I wish there was more of it. I went into it thinking a lot more about thinking more of it, and it didn't really live up to my expectations of it. And it was also very painful. Very painful. Number 5. This is as high as I could put it because I liked everything else more. Racer. The Racer is interesting though. I do enjoy the Racer because it's a figure 8. It's a figure 8 instead of an out and back. So the left train will come out of the station on the left and get back in the station on the right.
Oh.
So they swap tracks. It's very cool because we start because on ours we started on the left and I was like, and we finished and we're like, wait, what? Wait, how did we get over here? I had to think about it for a little bit. I was like, how does that work? But and because then they also they get back on the other side as well. It just keeps going back and forth. But it's a really interesting and different variation of a racing style wooden coaster.
So is it like 2 separate tracks, or is it like West Coast Racers where you do both?
It's what do you mean?
So like when you get on West Coast Racers, like you do both, or like Twisted Colossus, you do both sides in one ride through?
No, it's just the one side.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, you'd have to go on it again to get the other side, but
gotcha.
Number 4, kind of a bit of a controversial opinion. Skyrocket. It's not as good as people say it is. The first half's good, but it just crawls through that second half like nobody's business. It's so slow through the back half of it. If you just because there's these turns that it goes through, kind of like slalom style jump turns through the back half, but it just goes so slow through them that if you would have ripped through those turns, man, oh hell yeah. I'm all here for it. If you just went boom, 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 I've been that's great, but you just like a little grandma slowly through it, and I'm like, oh, awesome.
Ooh.
Yay. But yeah, Skyrocket number 4. Number 3 was a big surprise for me, and that's because of how interesting it is. Jackrabbit. It is, I've said in my video a lot, chewing it old school. That man got freaking seatbelt. That's it. It's got a seatbelt. It has a stationary lap bar and a seatbelt. Not even a buzz bar. It is, you're sitting in your thing, your little car on the train, and it is a bar that is just screwed to the actual frame, and it's sitting a good that far away from your legs.
Amazing.
And I'm literally on this coaster, I'm like, I don't think this has that much air time, but and then again, that's a pretty big drop. It's not like a massive.
It's got
drop,
a double down.
Yeah, it's got a double down. And I'm like, okay. So we're on it. And I'm like, my ass out of the seat. I wish I could have taken a picture of the ride photo, because when the ride photo is taken, it's literally taken in succession. We were all the way in the back. So you can see at the very beginning of the ride photo, because it's going as you're going down a hill, you can see I start slowly coming out of my seat in the picture. I went from being in frame to being out of frame when it finally got to the picture of us.
Amazing.
My ass is just out of the seat. I was like, what? I feel unsafe, but at the same time, we need more of these. Bring it back. Bring back,
right.
Take out all the safety, man. We need more of those.
For real.
Speaking about classic wooden coasters, number 2, Thunderbolt. I loved Thunderbolt. It was very interesting, the fact that you drop right out of the station. It just, you go out of the station, it takes you right into a drop. That's actually really cool. And then you go up an actual lift hill. They do have a sign. It's funny, on the sign in the station it says lighter rider in first, or heavier rider in second, or something like that. Or no, what was it? Or larger rider in second. It was something to that effect, because me and my buddy were like arguing about it. He's like, no man, I'm larger than you. I'm like, dude, you're a string bean. I think it means larger as in weight, not larger as in height. and we're riding it as he's like getting shoved into me because of like the forces. I'm like, yeah, it was definitely heavier
the other
weight.
way around. Yeah.
No, it was definitely heavier in weight, because I would have killed you had you been in where I'm sitting.
Right.
I would have just absolutely squished you like a bug. But it was a really enjoyable classic wooden coaster. I would definitely ride it again. I only got one ride, and it was the front row, but it was really, really interesting. And I forgot to mention, Steel Curtain was closed, if you didn't already figure that one out, because I haven't mentioned it. And we're already at number 1, so which only means there's only one logical option at what's number 1. Phantom's Revenge. Yeah, it's an Arrow that's now a Morgan,
something like that. Yeah,
vice versa. I don't know. It's great. The restraint system is very interesting on it. It's like, instead of it being like a lap bar that just goes down like that, it's a lap bar that goes like that.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it's like mounted to the side of the car, and you just pull it down. It's almost like Rip Ride Rocket.
Oh,
yeah, it's
okay,
super
that's
weird.
Yeah,
but instead of it being like a magnetic restraint, it's still a clicky restraint. So it goes like, you click it down, like click, 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 and I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, this is weird.
This is what we're doing. And that coaster has massive amounts of airtime. We were in the front, and we were getting absolutely yeeted out of our seats. Like, normally, like, you're in the front, it kind of kills it a bit. Nah, man. It, like, you get to that back half of that after you get out of the ravine, and it's just boom, boom, boom. Like, it's pretty good. It's a really good coaster, and as of right now, my title for my video is 100% accurate. I would probably say that's the best coaster in Pennsylvania. And that's argumentative, because a lot of people like Sky Rush at Hershey, but no, I like Phantom's Revenge more.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Yep. So that's my ratings for Kennywood.
Seems good to me.
Definitely a park you want to go to, though, because they have a lot of nice dark rides there.
Noah's Ark, the most terrifying experience ever.
Look at him and tell me that there's not a god.
Isn't there like that boat ride that like a lot of people have sex on?
The Old Mill?
Yes. Dude, you have got to look up, like,
I know it was formerly known as Garfield's Nightmare.
Yep, it was Old Mill, then Garfield's Nightmare, then back to Old Mill. But it is like the most notorious ride for like people trying to like get, intimate with their partner on. It's like the most notorious. You got to look up videos about it.
Don't do it though, because I had my phone out, and they don't have a sign that says no filming, but I had my phone out to record, and I got yelled at.
Really?
They went over the loudspeaker and said, "I'm sure those videos and pictures look great, but please put your phone away." Like, over the loudspeaker throughout the entire attraction. I'm like,
they probably have those cameras and stuff because of all of the history of it. It's really interesting. I watched a video about it recently.
It's a very boring boat ride, though. They need some sort of audio track or voiceover or something, man. It's just so painfully quiet. It's just you riding on a boat and reading a bunch of signs. That's all it is.
Old Mill, baby.
It's, yeah.
Oh man.
No, but they're what was it, Ghostwood Manor or something like that. That's
Yeah.
really cool. I really enjoyed that. I had that in my video. If you watched that, on that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. It was like a haunted blaster ride, kind of similar to Boo Hill, but actually scary.
Ooh.
Well, scary. not like kiddie style, like all like
Cartoon ghosts.
cartoony ghosts. No, this was like animatronics and stuff. It
Nice.
was actually really cool.
Nice.
So we want to go on to some news real quick.
Yeah,
before
you
we
have
close out?
we have some news stories written down to just touch
Yeah,
on.
so we're just going to talk about some new coasters that were either announced or I'm sure going to be announced over the next couple months that are coming soon. First off, starting with one that was recently announced for coming to Dollywood. What was that?
Big Bear Mountain. Yeah.
Big Bear Mountain. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a family launch coaster.
Yep. I think the first ride it reminded me of in terms of like forces and stuff would be something like Haggard's maybe. But the ride looks like fun. It makes sense for Dollywood. And it also makes sense for that area of Dollywood. It's like a step up from Dragonflyer. And if the landscaping and stuff is as good as it looks in the video, then it'll be a very fun experience, I think.
Yeah, I will hopefully get down to Dollywood eventually.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my list of parks to get to, that and Holiday World.
Yeah, I'd love to go to both of those.
I feel like Dollywood's more likely of me getting to sooner, just because I can actually drive there.
True.
Holiday World's a bit of a stretch to drive. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that turns out. A lot of people didn't enjoy it just because of it being so similar of a ride style to Dragonflyer.
Yeah.
So people were like, "Oh, okay, another family coaster, yay!" And it's
That's
taking
like
up
the third
taking up
one.
a massive footprint at that park. Like
It is.
It's what did they say, over 5,000 feet of track?
Something like that.
That's
Something like that.
It's gonna be a long coaster, man. I'm excited to possibly get a ride on it. Next one, the RMC that might be announced soon.
Ooh.
Twisted Twizzler.
Yeah, we've been saying Twisted Twizzler. I hope that's what it's actually going to be called, because that would be amazing.
It's going to be Iron Cat, and I'm going to get pissed. But we're talking about the possible RMC hybrid redo of Wildcat at Hershey Park.
This is one of those things that's like not so subtle.
Yeah.
Because of like RMC's comment on Instagram, like it's just, if it's anything else, I'd be shocked at this point.
Yeah.
And Wildcat is done now as well.
Yep.
It's been done for about a week, a little over a week. So
yep, as of July 31st, that was its last operating day. I didn't get to ride it again. Not that much of a loss.
As you say, like I'm sure you're really disappointed.
I'm so bummed. Darn. Really wanted to get that last ride on that. Honestly, this is probably the second. If I were to pick one coaster, like one wooden coaster that I would like to see get RMC'd next, this probably would have been my second choice, but still I'm glad that it's getting done, because it
behind what?
Roar at
Roar.
Six Flags America.
Roar. Yeah.
It's bad. That is more painful than Hurler.
So yeah, I want to see Hurler get the RMC at Carowinds, just because, I mean, Six Flags America, it would be nice because that would be like they finally have a standout coaster there.
Yeah,
but
they don't.
But man, like the Carowinds lineup with an RMC in it, that's just sexy.
Yeah.
You know, what can you say?
But I expect this to be announced by the end of the year.
Yeah.
My guess, if I were to take a guess, would be before Dark Nights starts, which is next month. I think it starts on the 17th or 16th of September.
That'd be great if they announce it then.
I hope it gets announced before then. If not, it's definitely going to be announced in November.
Yeah,
I don't see if it doesn't get announced before Dark Nights, I don't see it getting announced during the event, because they don't want to draw away from it.
Yeah. Another thing about this that I really hope happens, just a few minutes ago when talking about Busch Gardens, I said that Gwazi was only like 105 feet. I think Wildcat was like 106 or 104. It's like almost the same height. I would love to see them make this a hyper hybrid, because then you would have 3 coasters in Hershey Park that are over 200 feet tall, and all of them are drastically different ride experiences. And there's not another park I can think of that could say the same thing.
Yeah.
So that would be really awesome for Hershey Park. Like, and it'll be good advertising too. Like 3 coasters over 200 feet tall. You know, like again, like, can you think of another American park that has 3 coasters over 200 feet besides Cedar Point?
Those were immediately where my mind went.
Like,
no,
because that's I mean, it's good company right there.
Yeah.
You know? So I would love to see them go for the hyper hybrid route for sure.
Yeah, I would like to see that. There's a lot of talks about it possibly happening, but then I have seen mock-ups of the coaster where it's not. But I also have seen mock-ups of the coaster where it includes a JoJo roll out of the station.
Oh, that would be freaking awesome. A JoJo roll on a hybrid.
Yeah,
yes, please.
I saw that and was like, a lap bar JoJo roll?
Yo, hey yo,
hey yo.
Hey, let me get that.
But moving on to something similar to Twisted Twizzlers, but more of along the lines of a different manufacturer. Rumored and heavily speculated, GCI is looking like they're going to be making their first trek into a complete ground up hybrid coaster with their Titan track. GCI is in the process of working on announcements. This is actually probably going to be announced before this video even comes out, because they're doing an announcement on the 11th. But Worlds of Fun has been teasing over the past couple weeks, which is,
this makes no sense to me.
Who? Worlds of Fun.
This makes no sense to me.
But yeah, they've been teasing so like a new form of the Oriental Express or something at the park, which has been rumored to be a GCI Titan track hybrid. Which
this could be game changing for sure.
Especially for Cedar Fair, because Cedar Fair hasn't worked in it too much with RMC, which if they can get on the board with GCI, you could see a lot more GCI hybrids come to the Cedar Fair chain.
Yeah. I'm really hoping this is good. You know, and then it forces RMC to step their game up, and then you have that back and forth with the two.
I mean, RMC just kind of has a coaster model in their back pocket right now. Let's be honest.
They do, yeah.
They're just holding off on revealing T-Rex.
Yeah. But that's not.
They're not really scared right now.
Well, not scared, but the thing is if this GCI Titan track comes out and it's like a huge hit and it's amazing, then it's like, all right, RMC's their next hybrid. They're like, let's top that Titan track coaster, you know, and then that's when that back and forth could start.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's going to Worlds of Fun,
yeah,
that's good for them. But like, wow,
yeah,
surprising.
They did announce GCI did announce the trains, their new trains. Former ones were the Millennium Flyers, and now these ones are the I forgot what it's called. Hold up. I'm gonna have to look this up.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit, maybe to a bit of a lesser extent, was when Gertzlauer was saying like, hey, we're getting this record-breaking Gertzlauer, and then everyone's like, okay, it's going to Cedar Point, and it's like, nope, it's going to Glenwood Caverns in Colorado. And everyone's like, oh,
okay. Infinity Flyers. Yeah, they actually they revealed them a couple years ago at IAPA, but they just gave us like a whole bunch of stuff about them, and actually gave us like a mock-up of it. And these include magnetic restraints.
Interesting.
And brand new wheel packages. It looks very similar to the Millennium Flyers as far as design goes, but just those new restraints. That's the biggest part is the new magnetic restraints.
Yeah.
Which are pretty much now becoming an industry standard on most newer coasters.
Yeah, I'm excited for the prospect of this, especially to see how it turns out. Obviously, Worlds of Fun was not a park that has ever been on my radar. Yeah. You know, like I'm probably not going to travel all the way out there for Worlds of Fun anytime soon until I'm done with like every other park that I really want to see. But
this might move it up the list.
This like changes things a little bit because it makes it a little bit more of a destination, you know. And again, that's, I mean, good for them. Lord knows they need it. So, good for them.
All right, well, let's talk about the newest churro stand in Central Florida. Or sorry, no, this one's the landscaping project.
The landscaping project.
Yeah, what's the landscaping project going on in Central Florida now?
Yeah, SeaWorld Orlando, already starting progress on a new coaster. Icebreaker just opened this year, and now we're getting another new one next year. Don't know much about it other than it's a surf coaster, a new model from B&M. Does appear to be a stand-up, which is a very interesting choice. My hope is that, we're in a more modern age now and they have figured out a way to make it a more pleasurable experience. I hope that is what happens. I will not get my expectations up.
Looking at the layout, or the rumored layout, it's more focused on forces rather than inversions.
It's like B&M's answer to a Blitz coaster almost.
Pretty much.
But you're standing.
Yeah, and it's launched. It's not a lift hill.
Yeah, that's very interesting because B&M, I mean, they have launch coasters, they have the Hulk, they have Thunderbird, but they don't really have a launched model, that's like specifically for launches. So I think that's very interesting as well.
And the one thing that I'm like, okay, it's a stand-up coaster, but it does fix the one main issue that I had with stand-ups. The restraint system is now the vest restraints and not the over the shoulder.
Help. That does help a lot.
It definitely does help with the head banging.
And if they could find a way to make that like saddle thing a little more comfortable, then maybe you have a winner,
Maybe like if it's like a belt that goes across your waist instead of between your legs.
That would be cool.
Because I know there was, who was it? Was it SNS that developed a model, a stand-up model for a little bit?
That sounds right.
It had a belt restraint or something like that. It was, I don't remember exactly what manufacturer was, but there was a two like seat, like stand-up coaster per row thing, and that had that. It
will be interesting regardless to see like what the modernization of the stand-up coaster looks like.
And that's also something we have to talk about. It's not 4 seats per row. It's only 2.
Right.
Which is different than the previous stand-up coaster models.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what B&M does with that. Honestly, I'm just excited to have another coaster in Orlando. Can't complain there. And SeaWorld's leveling up, man. I mean, this focus on coasters and stuff is peak. Love it. More of that, please. SeaWorld Orlando is like, give me all the B&Ms. Would love to see something else at some point. Obviously, Icebreaker was not a B&M, but I'd love to see like a really good modern Woody come to SeaWorld at some point. Orlando is a little bit short on the wooden coaster front. We do have White Lightning, which is decent. Drive a little bit south and you have Mind Blower, which I really like, but it is rough, I'm not gonna lie. But I really like it anyway.
See, the main issue that people keep bringing up with wooden coasters in Florida is that it's very hard.
Weather.
The weather and the humidity, it's very hard with upkeep.
Well, you know what? Give us one of those modern GCI Titan Track Woodies. And there you go.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I would like to see, I know you have a world, like probably you have the best one of this type of model right down the road, but I would like to see them make a B&M invert.
Like a modern, or you know what, a B&M
a modern one,
a B&M wing coaster, because there's what's the closest B&M wing coaster to Orlando? Wild Eagle,
yeah.
And that's states and states away.
I mean, yeah, but just
you could make it
a B&M invert is something that's so it's a thing that almost every park has.
Yeah, but that's also, that could be a case against it in a way as well,
I guess.
You could I mean, Wild Arctic is a disaster. It's like this themed area, but there's like nothing really there besides like kind of icebreaker, but it's like after the Antarctica section. Obviously Empire of the Penguin was a huge flop. I don't know how this would work with like the animals and stuff in the area, but like a B&M wing coaster themed to penguins, you know?
See, my only issue with the wing coaster is it's very similar to a flying coaster.
It is. But what I'd really like to see is, I mean, obviously it seems like they have a good working relationship with B&M, and that's great. It would be nice to see some other manufacturers in the park. Another thing that I'd really love to see, and you know, Dolly was doing this kinda, but if SeaWorld Orlando could get a new age Vekoma that's actually like high thrilling and not like a family coaster, that would be really cool, and it would be a first of its kind around here. So there are definitely options aside from B&M that I'd love to see come to SeaWorld, but certainly exciting, the future of SeaWorld for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of futures of parks, our last news point that we have to talk about: California's Great America is
F in the chat.
Is on the chopping block and is a few years away from ceasing to exist.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
It is. I would love to go out there. Unfortunately, it's not a park that's super high on my priority list, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to go out there before it dies. But
yeah. Now they signed a 12-year lease. Do you think they'll last all 12 years?
Definitely not. I would probably give it like 3 or 4 years. I don't think it's going to go up to 12 for sure. I mean, that'd be great if it does, but I don't really see it happening. I don't think they're going to want to put that much revenue into upkeep for a park that's, you know, dead basically.
Yeah, I have a feeling that you'll see more and more attractions start disappearing from the park over the next couple of years, starting with the easier to move big ticket coasters like Railblazer.
Yep. And there's so many parks that Railblazer could go to, and it would be a perfect fit.
And that's the only thing where I'm like, see, I don't know how long they could keep removing things as the park stays open and keep capacity, keep like attendance up to warrant keeping the park open.
Exactly. And like, you know, you get rid of something like Railblazer, like that's a top 2 coaster in the park right there.
Yeah.
And the other one, Gold Striker, is, I would love to see it get a new home, but there's no question that it'd be very difficult to move a big wooden coaster like that. So I worry that it is going to get scrapped. Again, I really hope that's not the case. Heck, give it to Carowinds. Give it to Carowinds, you know, kill Nighthawk and Vortex and give it to Carowinds. But I mean, there are definitely options for it. And they have some other, like, you know, they have like a smaller scale invert that could go somewhere. I mean, there are so many parks that could use a simple B&M invert, and that would help them out. So, you know, there are options for their coasters. But the one that I definitely think is going to get moved somewhere is Railblazer. And because I mean, again, like just about any park could use something like that. It takes up almost no land. So, you know, now you send that to Worlds of Fun and you got an interesting park now, don't you?
Oh God, Worlds of Fun, man.
You send it to Worlds of Fun and suddenly everyone's like, let's go to Kansas City.
Let's go see wait, Missouri or Kansas?
I'm looking it up. It's in Kansas City, Missouri.
All right, so let's go.
Silver Dollar City is in Branson.
Yo,
Worlds of Fun, Six Flags St. Louis.
It's a road trip right there.
Yeah, I wonder how far apart.
Go see a Cardinals game. Go see a Cardinals game. You're set.
Let me. I'm just gonna look just for grins real quick. Silver Dollar City, because I feel like Branson is like really out of the way of everything else.
I really want to go to Silver Dollar City, and if it takes
3.5 hours between Silver Dollar City and World of
Fun. That's a deal breaker, man. I was like, if it takes Worlds of Fun getting a GCI hybrid to really finally take me out to there to go to both parks, then so be it. But 3.5 hours, that's.
And St. Louis, it's like so.
It's a bit much.
Picture like it's like it makes a perfect triangle. So like if this is the triangle, like St. Louis is up here, Silver Dollar City's here, Worlds of Fun is here.
Oh, of course it is.
So they're like completely spread out. Because of course.
I need to get on Time Traveler, man. I really do.
I know, man. And Outlaw Run,
Yeah.
Powder keg. Silver Dollar City looks sick, dude.
It does.
It looks sick. So
But yeah, this has gone way longer than I thought it was. This is like a 2-hour video. No
sorry,
one's going to
guys.
watch this entire thing.
That's fine.
If
but
you
we had
have,
fun anyway.
If you have watched this entire in the end, I'm sorry, but get a life, please.
You just insulted one person. Who's
No
like,
offense.
Man.
Like, who's gonna really listen to this entire 2-hour long podcast about roller coasters? I mean, kudos if you did, but I'm sorry that you had to sit through this. But if you did enjoy, please make sure you drop a like and also comment. Connor, where can they find you?
Yeah, for the one person listening to this, you can check out my YouTube channel, Connor FL. I do like music and theme parks. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm on your heels, man. I'm on your heels.
He's gonna pass me soon because I'm not really good at YouTube. I just kind of upload whenever I do something. It's like a video diary for me. So if you're into that kind of thing, then you can watch me. If not, then don't. And then of course, gotta shout out Boo Bros. Me and Michael both have put some work into that. Not as much work as Losh TV, but we put some work into it.
I try my best.
We try our best, and
I mean,
listen, there's a lot of good creators that work on Boo Bros. So, and they're all of us are homies, good people. So,
I mean,
check that out if you want some horror stuff. You know,
to toot my own horn, but like, you know, I may have not put as much effort into it as he does, but
you put some
most highest viewed video on the channel.
This is true. I appear on the podcast.
All right. Well, like I said, if you guys did enjoy, do all that stuff. Follow Connor. Follow me. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Subscribe. Hollowed Thrills. All that jazz. But till next time, I'm Michael giving you the all clear. All clear means you are out of here. I'll see you guys next time.